Hello Internet, Martin here, day 26 of my Vlog 365 challenge. Today is Sunday. I'm getting confused because it's bank holiday this weekend, so tomorrow is a day off. I was pondering what I was going to talk about today actually, and then I was driving around in my car. I was going to go outdoors to get my airbed changed. Something I didn't talk about actually whilst I was at the Jamboree is that my airbed at the Jamboree was lasting about a day and a half, 2 days max. So I went up to go outdoors, sort of exchanged it, had to pay, I'd had it a couple of years, so they gave me a little bit of money off, that sort of thing. But anyway, as I was driving around, I'm listening to LBC, and I'm a massive LBC listener. And they were talking about in the news today, apparently as part of the Labour contest, or the Labour leadership contest, Jeremy Corbyn and Owen Smith are discussing their education policies, and Jeremy Corbyn says he wants to abolish tuition fees and bring back student maintenance grants, whereas Owen Smith says he's interested in a 1 or 2% graduate tax. And this made me laugh. So a bit of backstory. Over 10 years ago? Yeah, gosh. Yes. So 10 years ago I was coming to the end of being a sabbatical officer at Anglo Ruskin Students' Union. I was the finance officer. And for years and years before that, I'd been very politically active at my student union at the university, but also I'd have been involved in my local college, helping restart their student union actually. And so I'd been to NUS conference for, I think, 5 years. I'd been to a NUS conference. I remember going to the Houses of Parliament. I think it was in 2000... Was it 2005, 2006, when the Labour Party voted to bring in what we now call tuition fees. Before that, we had top-up fees, where you'd pay, I think it was £1,200 a year, and that was when I did my first degree, paying top-up fees. But I was there in Parliament when they brought in the tuition fees, and I think it was £3,000 initially. And in fact, Tony Blair had done some really dodgy stuff, like he'd whipped all the Scottish MPs, who, and it wasn't going to affect Scotland, but he'd whipped all the Scottish MPs to vote in favour, and I think we lost by something like 6 votes or something like that. And all the careerists all the career Labour people in the NUS were like, oh no, clearly, anyway, NUS politics aside, very long conversation. Anyway, so even back then, so over 10 years ago, secretly, because the NUS was very against tuition fees, full stop policy, against tuition fees, bring back maintenance grants, I was a bit of a voice of dissent, because whilst, my student union policy, well, I don't know if we really had a policy, but the general policy of the NUS is no tuition fees. I was pragmatically going, well, I'm not necessarily opposed to paying for your tuition. I'm going to change arms. I'm not necessarily opposed to paying for tuition, but we need something that works. I didn't approve, and I still don't approve of the current form of tuition fees. Let me actually state there. So I'm a big supporter of Martin Lewis. And what he sort of says. So anyone that's interested in considering going to university, whether it's this year or next year or the next few years, don't be put off by the tuition fees. What they did do is they got rid of the upfront loan, so you no longer had to find the tuition and pay for the tuition up front. So whether it's $9,000 or $10,000 or whatever it may end up being in the next year or so, don't be put off by that. You get a student loan. I think the current thing is you have to be earning over 21, 22 grand before you start paying that back, and you pay back a percentage. I can't remember how much it is. But don't be put off, because it sits in your loan book. Now here's the crux of it really, and this is where I think the government's done a bit of a dodge, because they've put something in place which they know is never going to work. So my student loan bill at the moment, and bearing in mind I did a little bit on the old system and then on the new system, I think my current debt is about 35 grand. For most people, it's from current students starting this year, by the time they've got their tuition fee loan, their maintenance loan, all this sort of stuff, I think they graduate with something like 40 grand debt. Now, if you don't, well, put it this way, I'm never going to pay my student loan off, ever. I earn enough to be eligible, but equally because I employ myself through my own businesses, I can do tax planning, which means I can minimise things like the tax I pay, my student loan contributions, and these sorts of things, because I can claim expenses, blah 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 blah, all perfectly legal. So I'm never going to pay mine off. So when I come to retire, or whenever the certain deadline kicks in, who's going to be paying off? The taxpayer is going to be paying off. So what the government has done is basically put a loan book of several millions of pounds of student loan on a debt book, which some of that will get paid off, granted, and some people may pay off a lot, and some people, because by the time you factored in the interest rates, they'll probably pay off more than they originally borrowed because of the interest, and some people will pay that off. And if you're, say, a nurse or well, teachers are okay, but if you're not, if you earn the average living, the average income, you ain't ever going to pay your loan off. Which means when the white loans get wiped off in 20, 30, 40 years time, maybe a little bit longer, it's going to be the taxpayer of the day that has to pay that off. So all they're doing is robbing Peter to pay Paul. Fantastic. What a stroke of genius this government is. Well, the previous government, actually the previous couple of governments. Now, going back to the graduate tax thing that this Owen Smith, I'm not getting involved in the Labour leadership debate, not for me to get involved at all. A 1 or 2% graduate tax. I heard this on the news today and I'm going, my God, this rings a bell. This is exactly what I've been talking about for the last 10 years. No fees. It doesn't cost you £8 grand, £9 grand, 10 years to go. You can just go to university. Anyone can go to university. The only barrier to go to university should be your ambition and your ability academically, or vocationally, academically, depending on your degree. What we shouldn't be doing is dumbing down our entry requirements to get more people through the door. But there's a whole different argument about the monetization, the marketization, and basically the business of universities. Universities should be places of learning, excellences of learning and engagement educationally, not about making money. But that is definitely a different discussion for a different day. However, everyone. So it's free to go to university. It doesn't matter. All you got to do is get to university. It costs you nothing. And hey, maybe you even get a maintenance grant or a small loan to help pay for your rent and all this sort of stuff. However, everyone, maybe you have 1 year after your graduation, whatever, everyone should get 1 or 2% full life graduate tax slapped on. So it doesn't matter if you're a nurse and you're only earning, I don't know how much nurses earn, 20 something odd grand. It doesn't matter, you pay 1% or 2%, whatever it is. Or if you're a banker, or if you're an architect or a lawyer and after 3 or 4 years you're earning 100 grand, 200 grand, you're still paying that 2%. And there's no dodging on that. So, whilst I'm not supporting any of the Labour leader candidates, 1 or 2% graduate tax I've been talking about for a while. I'd love to talk about it in more depth, but 7 minutes, this is definitely the longest vlog, and I don't want them to get that long. They may have to be long when I have these sort of conversations. I think it's the first time I've got political as well. But let me know your thoughts, please. Please head to my YouTube channel and put your comments down below. If you're seeing this on Facebook or Twitter, please click through the video, put your comments on the YouTube channel, like and subscribe and share. Let me know, how do you think we should be paying for university tuition fees and all this sort of stuff? Anyway, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.